games are forever, and the one game that has forever taken a place in my heart, nailed it.
Sure.
Tunic. Oh my God. What a fucking game. So we're recording this on the Friday, so I finished this yesterday, finally. And when I say finished, I mean, a lot of people have finished Tunic, but haven't actually even dug into some of the cool shit that Tunic has in its post-game. I did a lot of that post-game stuff before I faced the final boss. I haven't done literally one puzzle that will unlock the true ending for me. So I've done quite a bit. This game is just so special. It's so good in so many different ways.
Yeah, it's interesting because we spoke about it.
I think we briefly spoke about it. I was I started it.
Yeah, we had both just started it. I think I'd only played 30 to 40 minutes, if that. And even then, I was like, yeah, this is a cool game. I mean, it looks good. It feels good to play. But what followed that weekend and beyond was just me actually snorting this game because it's relatively long depending on how much poking around you do, but it'll take you, I'd say 12 to 15 hours maybe. If that's
I took around 20.
Yeah, but that's you poked around and did some stuff. So it's quite a chunk of game, and it's really good. I think what baffles me the most is that this game is so well put together to the point of the closest comparison I can give is when you're running around in a level and it falls on itself. It's that Bloodborne moment of wow, I can't believe this level fits together like this. How well designed is this game? But it's been put together by a very small team of people, which I think most of the responsibility falls on Andrew Schuldas, who's the head of the project, I guess, obviously supported in some ways with music and other things. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this dude left game development in 2015 to pursue making this game.
Oh, really? Wow.
And what a 6-year journey, and the result is just, it's unreal. So what I'm getting at with this long spiel is that I can't believe this game was put together by one dude or a small team of people. It's so well designed. It's scary actually how well everything fits together and how much thought has been put into it.
Yeah, so I mean, if you missed the previous discussion, it's sort of I want to say it's styled like an old school Zelda, sort of like a Link Between Worlds, or most recently Link's Awakening. That's sort of isometric diorama style to levels.
Yeah.
And it is that loop of go to a biome or a dungeon, get an item that then enables you to go to a different biome or dungeon, and you're doing a lot of you're not doing tons, but you're doing some backtracking because you're oh, this tool now opens up this thing, and I remember seeing these two instances, on this part of the map. For example, Zelda perfected that formula decades ago, and Tunic borrows pretty liberally from that. It also kind of borrows from ideas from the Souls franchise, in that you have campfires where you rest, and that's where you replenish your health
and
vials. You're healing. That's where you spawn again if you die. And when you rest there, all the enemies respawn. But I'm not going to call it a Souls game. It's challenging, but it's not nowhere near that hard, and its structure is not kind of the same. You've got levels that kind of fold over on each other, but it's not that style of game, because I know a lot of people switch off when they hear that. It's just, it borrows those elements, and they're most recognizable from the Souls franchise, but it's not that sort of game at all.
And having finished the game, I think I can say that combat is almost on the back seat. It's obviously there's combat, but the true star of this game is the exploration. It's really about you figuring out where to go next, what to do, and combat's there, but it feels like it's not the, I don't know. It's the only way I can explain is that it feels like it's the secondary objective, or takes a back seat almost to what else you're doing.
It's not the thing you're primarily doing all the time.
Yeah.
But when it's there, it's pretty robust. I mean, you've got a stamina meter that only is used when you engage in like rolls and dodges. And like if you lose all of your stamina, then you take double the damage while it replenishes, stuff like that. Which is very, very
painful.
Detrimental. But the attacks are basic. You have like a 3-hit combo. You can block with a shield whenever you get it. You've got a variety of magical items. So yeah, it's sort of bread and butter in that way, but you've got a good variety of enemies that force you to use all of your tools, I feel like. And while they're not like huge roadblocks to always get past, they're always satisfying to fight. And that's especially so when you get to the boss fights. The boss fights they can be slightly more challenging than normal, but boy, they're just like great fights. Just really, really good.
Yeah, I think that I would happily compare to like a Souls, where there's every boss you fight is accompanied by a really good song or soundtrack. And there's the thing
really good vista.
Yeah, you got to figure out the pattern, figure out the attacks. And yeah, they are challenging. Like none of the bosses I fought were a walkover. So yeah,
I think the thing that really sells me on this game, because a lot of what we've spoken about now sounds pretty standard from an action adventure game. I think what really gets me is just the sort of overall level design is just ridiculously good.
It's really good, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many little hidden parts. You have to go into this with the mindset that you're going to be kind of like running into walls at weird angles, because the camera angle is specifically done in a way to obscure some paths, which I think if you go into the game not expecting that can be frustrating, because you never expect that. But once you have that sort of like ingrained in your mind that that's how the game works, man, it's just so easy to kind of like see them from afar almost. But there's like it feels really good to discover all these little hidden paths here and there. And then also the game has this in-game manual. So sort of like what maybe used to ship with games maybe 20, 30 years ago. A full-on manual that not only just tells you how to play the game, but also gives you hints as to how to progress.
Yeah.
You have that in-game, and throughout your adventure, you find pages for this manual.
Yeah.
And it's quite extensive. There's 25 pages in total. Each of them is double-sided, so it's like 50. And they essentially tell you how to play the game, but they also slowly drip feed you new mechanics. But what's cool is that these mechanics aren't gated in a way. There are mechanics that you could have engaged in from the moment you start the game. You just have no idea that they exist.
Yeah.
So as an example, because a lot of these are really cool surprises, so I don't want to give them away. Like one of the earliest ones is you get items that appear in your inventory just with question marks. So you can't consume them. You have no idea what they do. And they go in a very specific area of your inventory. And it's like very unclear why. And I would say maybe like at 2 or 3 hours in, definitely before you fight the Garden Knight, which you're watching now, if you're watching the footage, you can pick up a page that says, oh, when you're at your little campfire, instead of just resting, open up your inventory. And that immediately exposes something that you can do with those items.
Yeah.
And it's like, at the point at which I found out that those items could be used in that way, I'd collected numerous of them. And I was just staring at them like, I don't know what to do with these. I don't know how to do anything with these. And then suddenly it's like, oh my God. And it like completely changes how you perceive the game, and also just like what you can, like what you think as possible in the game because of that small little thing.
Yeah.
And then there's just so many moments like that.
Yeah.
So many times where I've picked up a page and it's like, this completely changes the game, and now I have to revisit these 2 or 3 areas because there's something new I can do there that I could always do there. It was just, I didn't have the knowledge.
Didn't know, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think maybe playing this game from a new game plus, I've read a lot of people who have done New Game Plus run on this, and because of the knowledge they're taking into the New Game Plus, they can sequence break this game in such like wondrous ways. And then the game is so aware of that as well. Like you were telling me that there are areas where you can find the sword that are different to the traditional area because people who sequence break need to have
a tool,
a different place to find a sword because they'll need it at a certain time. And it just shows you the sort of level of design and thought that's gone into this game. And it's just mind-blowing. Yeah, just nothing I've ever seen on this scale.
Yeah, on that, I mean, that was me watching, because, you know, one of my favorite things to do after finishing a game is just seeing how people break it. It's with a speedrun. So I watched an IGN video where the devs react to a 24-minute speedrun, which is just crazy to think.
Yeah, that's incredibly fast.
But when they're chatting, they're saying like, it's interesting because some developers completely embrace speedrunning and actually include mechanics, you know, to favor that community. And yeah, like you said, there's a secret room, you know, in one of the early parts that has a spare sword. That's not the one you would traditionally pick up. And the dev was basically like, you know, we put that there for speedrunners specifically.
I found it like cool. near the end of the game, and I was like, wait, why is this here? Like, why would I need this now? Does the sword do
more damage?
Like, what's going on here? At first I got excited. I'm like, oh, sick. And it literally is like, you've already got one of these. And I was like, oh, that's lame.
But I think just to go back to the manual, I think my favorite description of it, I was listening to Kind of Funny's review on it. I think, so I can't remember who, but someone on that podcast said that it's the game's secret sauce. And like, there's no better description because it almost feels like that's what makes the game. It's not the only thing, but it's one of the highlights of the game that makes it so special because that manual is just like, I've never had a feature like that in a game, at least not that comes to memory. And it does harken to that thing of you're a kid, you got a new game, you're flipping through the manual, you know, so excited to play it, looking at the pictures. And to incorporate that into the game itself where nothing's gated, it's literally, you just don't know how to do that. Here's a helpful hint. And it's not explained in, you know, raw English or whatever language. The game has its own made-up language where, you know, I really hope that somebody's gone and, you know, decrypted it and they've thrown up a, you know, a translated
manual. I think there's
manual.
someone on Reddit who's busy decrypting it like fully.
So it obviously has full meaning behind those long paragraphs in the manual, but, you know, to help the player along, there's one or two English words scattered throughout. And it is just a helpful nudge in the right direction. And it's when you find a page manual, you get so excited, like, ooh, like what am I going to learn now? You know, what hidden mechanic am I going to learn?
And it's not even what the manual, like you said, it's not even what the manual's explicitly telling you. It's like these little scribbles in the margins here and there that are like, you know, a player who's seen this already is kind of like making their own notes and kind of alluding to things as well. And man, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's what a, like, I've had my eye on Tunic for years now. I mean, I can't remember if I saw its first reveal in 2015 or 2016, but I know years ago I saw this and I thought, man, that little Zelda fox is too cute and I can't wait to play this game. But I really didn't expect, you know, you expect just a straight up Zelda clone because it's called Tunic. Like it obviously wears that reference on its cap.
It wears a green tunic.
It wears green tunic. But this is not, you know, a typical Zelda game. There's a lot. It's got so many different elements to it that, I don't know, it's what a special game.
And I also feel like it's just tuned so perfectly. So like, you know, the first 2/3 of the game are very much your traditional Zelda fare, but each of the dungeons, they don't feel like they overstay their welcome. They always feel perfectly like timed. Like I get to the boss immediately when I feel like I should be getting to the boss. You know what I mean? But they're not too short. You know, like I love Breath of the Wild, but I feel like their Divine Beasts, the dungeons are way too short, or way too basic in a way.
Yeah.
And then some of the OG Zelda dungeons, like in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, are just too long. Yeah. They're so complex and so interweaving. Tunic is just like, cool, there are little rooms here and there to act as distractions for you to go in, but the main path is like a solid half an hour, 40 minutes, you'll get through this dungeon.
And like, when you've got the dungeon figured out, you could run through it so quickly.
Oh, and you're forced to a lot of the time. So it's good that you can kind of like get in and out fairly quickly. And there's like shortcuts that you can discover to make getting back to the boss like easier and stuff like that. But then in the final third of the game, like the game just changes completely. It's like it becomes far more of a puzzle game. I mean, I've said this a lot, but it becomes like Fez. If you've never played Fez, that will make zero sense to you. But if you've played Fez, you kind of know what you're getting into. It's sort of like puzzles that have always been around you that you have never identified as puzzles. Like you see a lot of things that you never thought of as, oh, this is something to solve. You just thought, oh, this is part of the background.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the last third of that game just blew my mind. Like as soon as I turned this corner where I figured out something like from the manual, and the game specifically points you in a direction because it needs you to understand something. Otherwise, you're just not going to progress. Yeah. But after that, I was just like, wait a minute. I've seen patterns like this elsewhere. What if I just invert, if I take the knowledge of how I'm solving this puzzle and apply it to this other thing, will it work? And I tried it once and I was like, oh my God, it worked. And it's just that like light bulb moment and huge satisfaction of that working. And then it's just like all these things firing off in your head. Like there are so many different places I can go now and try this. And it's so rewarding in that because it trusts, we spoke about games earlier this year, especially with Horizon and Ghost of Tsushima and generally a lot of AAA, big first party studio games. They are designed in a way to ensure that the player finds the fun, so much so that they do not trust the players to find that themselves. Yeah. Tunic is a game which is like, it has a very deep respect for the person that's playing it. It doesn't think you're stupid. It doesn't think you're the smartest person. It doesn't assume you're the smartest person in the world because otherwise it would be frustrating. Yeah. But it trusts you enough to be like, you can figure this out. And the reward at the end of that is just so, it's so unlike so many other games because I think finding that balance is so difficult. Yeah. But it's just so good when it's nailed, and Tunic nails that, I think.
It's amazing how, completely different games, but Elden Ring and Tunic, neither of them spoon feed you. And like the games are better for it. It's that sense of discovery and, figuring stuff out. Like you don't get that with games that spoon feed you. Just interesting that it almost feels like this is that. It could be that MOBA moment where people go, oh, yes, people want these obscure games that don't spoon feed anything. In like a year or two, we're going to have a flurry of these damn obscure games. I mean, but maybe even not,
then, it's like Tunic and Elden Ring are different because like most FromSoft games, they're obscure and they're obscure in the weirdest ways. Yeah. Tunic is like, I'm going to be obscure, but I'm also going to give you so many hints that you should be able to figure this out.
But in Elden Ring, the fact that it's just an open world, which is, unusual for them, and there's still just enough information to drip feed you in the right direction. Or, if you're following any of the side quests, there's always like a line of dialogue that just nudges you in the right direction or whatever.
It's just good design.
It's good design, yeah.
It's really, really, there's no other word for it. It is design that is exceptional, and that's why not every game is like this, because I don't think it's firstly easy, and I don't think the majority of people making games have the skill. Unfortunately, it's what separates good games from excellent games. And Tunic is definitely one of the best games I've played. I mean, I mentioned this yesterday in Discord, but if I had to look at all the games I played last year, Tunic is probably up there with Chicory, and probably better. Like Tunic is the best game I've played in the past 2 or 3 years. Like, it's real by far. And it wasn't even, it was like within the first hour or so, I was like, okay, this is good. Like I'm enjoying this. I'm having a fun time. But it was only like when I got into it, I just could not stop thinking about this game. And it's been a long while since I've had that. It's just absolutely, completely taken over my life. And I had that like drop of the gut when I finished it, being like, I feel empty now. Yeah, I feel very empty. but that's the mark of a good game. It's fantastic.
Well, it's cool though is that you can go sequence break it now. See how fast you can.
Yeah, I kind of want to. I kind of want to go fuck around there and just see, like, can I get some of the late game items I got, like, before I get the sword, you know, and see how the hell that changes how I get around.
Watch a speed run. It'll blow your mind.
I really want to now.
Because the speed run I watched, there weren't, you know, you get speed runs where it's like you run against this wall and then you push these 3 buttons and you teleport through it. The one I watched was just straight up, you know, none of that, just playing the game, just sequence breaking it for the most part. So yeah, Tunic, what a game. It's on Game Pass.
I cannot wait for like an AGDQ run of this.
Yeah,
because that's going to be
because then it's fun because then they actually talk you through exactly what they're doing. Yeah. But yeah, Tunic is on Game Pass. So
on Game Pass on Xbox and PC.
It's literally,
I must say I was bouncing between the two because sometimes Shani would be watching TV in the lounge, so I'd be like, okay, I'll play on PC. And other times I was playing on Xbox. And I mean, this is probably a given now because it's been happening for so long, but these save syncing between the two is so seamless. It's
I was gonna ask, so you're just playing across both platforms, no problem.
It just works.
Amazing.
Like even on the Xbox. So on the Xbox, it's a quick resume title, so it would be quick resume. So if I played on the PC, I'd load it up on Xbox, and it would immediately be like, "Hey, your save data changed elsewhere. You should reboot this game." And I was like, "Cool,
okay,
yeah." But then on PC, as soon as I load up, it syncs and it's like, it's done. It's just there. I mean, Steam does this as well.
Yeah.
But to see it so like, yeah, I mean, I say this in the same week that I booted up. So this is probably a very niche problem to have, but I have 2 Nintendo Switches. Obviously. Oh, no. And I took the Nintendo Switch Lite to Cape Town with me in December and played a lot of Hades there. And then when we had load shedding this week, I was like, I want to play a bit of Hades, but my light is flat, so I've got my normal one. And it hadn't automatically uploaded my cloud save data. So I went in and I was like, oh crap. And then as soon as I exited the game, because I knew immediately what was going to happen, it uploaded that to the cloud.
Oh no.
And I'm like, oh fuck. So now it's overwritten, like game over.
Damn
like
it.
I've just lost a bunch of progress.
Oh, that's annoying.
And it's like, oh, that sucks. Yeah. I mean, maybe with a handheld system, that's a bit trickier because when it's connected to the internet, it is not entirely the same thing. But yeah, I mean, props to Xbox. That shit just fucking worked.
Yeah.
Really, really useful. Yeah. Tunic,
play this game. It is on Game Pass.
Yeah, please play this game.
You only have to invest in Game Pass. You don't have to cough up any other money.
I genuinely feel like I feel like I'm robbing the developer of not giving him money because this is just like so good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good game. Good game.